Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. Spring is here and we're ready. I'm Spit Pace. Please welcome our host, the First Lady of Sports Talk, coming from sunny Florida with her allergies. She battling allergies and she's still here.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's high allergy season for those who suffer. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's been difficult in South Florida.
Have to break out the Benadryl. But, First Lady, there was some news about Michael Jordan suing NASCAR. And I was looking at a race that his team won, and that man was as excited as if he had won an NBA championship. But I'm going, he done won. His team done won like 3 races. I'm like, MJ got the touch. All right. This week on Shout Out, we have performances from Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers. Where they find their shining stars, get the cold feel of the mute button. First Lady, we're ready. What you saying?
Each week, we try to figure out what is going on in the sports world. Not the plays of the week, more like the players of the week. Are they trying to tell us something? So we ask, what you saying? Fly, little birdie, fly. Time keeps on slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping into the future. So I want to fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let the spirit carry me. I want to fly right into the future. The little birdies known as the old dogs of March Madness are in the Sweet 16 and flapping their wings in the face of the youngins. On the one side, there are the old dogs, St. John's Rick Pitino, 73, Michigan State's Tom Izzo, and Tennessee Rick Barnes, both 71, Houston Kelvin Sampson, 70, and Illinois' Brad Underwood, 62. On the other, the Young Bucks, UConn Dan Hurley and Nebraska Fred Hoiberg, both 53, Arizona Tom Lloyd and Alabama's Nate Oates, both 51, Michigan's Dusty May, 49, Iowa State TJ Otzelberger, 48, and Iowa's Ben McCollum, 44, and Duke's John Shayer, 38. If the old dogs make it into the Elite Eight or Final Four, does that dispute the notion it's a young man's game? At least when it comes to coaching college basketball. George Foreman, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, both rest in peace, Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr., and the Steve Miller Band are asking what you saying. Well, it's interesting. Actually, so far in the Sweet 16 games on Thursday, most of them have been the old heads against the old heads and the young bucks against the young bucks of the big games. Kelvin Sampson, Houston Cougars lost to Illinois, coached by Brad Underwood. So I mean those are 2 old heads, and the young heads. You had Fred Hoiberg lost to Ben McCollum, from Iowa. Now, I just got to say this. What was Fred Hoiberg and the Nebraska team thinking? They only had 4 players on the floor during the most critical time of the game. They lost the game with they had 4 players. Fred Hoiberg said it was a lack of communication. It was a breakdown. I mean, that's what you got when you got young heads coaching. You got a breakdown. I mean, an old head wouldn't do that. Old buck, these young bucks, I mean, they rely on analytics and all that. They can't damn count how many players they got on the floor. You don't take no analytics to do that. I mean, that was the most craziest thing I've ever seen. I saw it on the highlights. I said, what? But anyway, that's those young bucks for you. But so anyway, Friday's matchup, you're going to have to see the old dogs versus the young bucks, because you got Dan Hurley from UConn faces Tom Izzo, Michigan State, and Rick Pitino, St. John versus Duke's John Shayer. So we're going to see. But when it comes to older coaches, for the most part, they have dominated the Sweet 16 round, and that's because of the fact that they have the experience. They are not going to make a lot of mistakes like Fred Hoiberg made. They're very good in prepping their players. They're the veterans simply, they've been here before, so they know what to do. They make a lot of good late game decision making. They definitely make they make adjustments at halftime, and they know how to manage the foul trouble and the tempo of the game. That's what old coaches do, and they're in established programs, and they know how to. They know how to coach. I mean, it's a bottom line. They've been to the Sweet 16 several times. So that's why older coaches with their teams find they make a lot of deeper runs. Now, of course, younger coaches, they bring in innovation and style. As we had said before, they are analytics-driven offenses. They just believe in analytics. But like I said, you didn't need analytics to count how many people you had on the floor at a given time. But, younger coaches, I mean, some of the top teams are coached by younger coaches. I mean, let's face it, Arizona is right now, I would say Arizona is probably, especially after the Cougars lost, Arizona is probably the top team, and that's a young coach in Arizona. Arizona really, he's only, how old is he? He's 51, but Duke is coached by a real young guy. I mean, John Shayer, he's only 38 years old. That's unheard of to have somebody so young coaching a college basketball team or any college team, to be honest with you. So, but young coaches, you have to give them their kudos too. They to me, they're more connected with their players. They adapt to modern recruiting dynamics. They, like I said, they use analytics. They're very creative with their offenses and their defenses. So it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to Friday's matches with, you have, that Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino, when it comes to old head, he's the oldest of the old heads, and he's going up against John Shayer. I might be pronouncing his name Shire, but we're going to see. But, I'm always going to bet with the older coaches because of their experience. All right, Spitface, what you saying about this?
First Lady, first off, I think that given that I'm a representative of the old Grumpy Radio Network, age ain't nothing but a number. And a lot of times that number is winning. And I'm just thinking, not so much college, but, look at some of them old coaches in the NFL, like Andy Reid, who done got a couple of Super Bowl rings. and folks thought that he should have headed for the boot. I think that the older coaches have a little bit of an advantage, not just in the experience and in the play, but they've been around. They know, a lot of whether their teams are successful is recruiting. And that's the big key, because you could be a great coach. If you don't have the talent, it ain't going to work out. And these guys know how to recruit. They went through hundreds of athletes. They've had hundreds, probably thousands of conversations with players and recruiting and families, and the management of all of that to bring in the right people so that you can be a winner and be in the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, and the Final Four, and maybe be at the big dance. And the younger coaches, they may have innovations for the actual play on the court, but with the innovations, if they don't have the players to compete, everything levels out. And, given the option, hey, do you want to go play for Rick Pitino? Sound like a good thing to me, Do you want to go play for Kelvin Sampson? Hey, sound like a good thing to me, And a lot of players go, yeah, that guy is, the thing about being older is that you got a record. And if your record says you don't won a national championship, or you've been in the Final Four, or you keep doing that, well, I want to play for your team. And that's not to knock the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks is kicking butt. And a lot of it is more of the Young Bucks than the old dogs. So, when you got more of the old dog or more of the young players, of course they're going to start rising to the top. But then, as they say, cream rises to the top. And those old dogs are still coaching because they're the cream of college basketball. And they're going and they know how to win. They know how to win, and they know how to get the right players and do what it takes. I think the rap on the old dogs was that the NIL, that they wouldn't be able to deal with the NIL. And so you needed a new breed of coaches to come in who would be able to adapt to the NIL. Well, it looks like these guys have adapted and figured it out. I think that was the big myth that, a couple of coaches, they retired. They said that, this transfer portal, the NIL, that, to them, it was just too much stuff. And they were like, look, I'm hanging it up. But, it looks like some of them old dogs said, well, we know how to adapt. And they did. So, Kelvin Sampson, the Houston team, I feel for them that number 2 rank, if they lost, but a couple of them are going to make it to the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and it might end up being the big dance. So it ain't time to wheel them out to the to pasture. These guys aren't playing on the court, and I'm just going to say this. We're in a different era, and the era that we're in, and what I mean by that is that people are taking better care of themselves. And, time gone by, some of these coaches would have been out of shape, they wouldn't have been taking care of themselves. Or they've been taking care of themselves, but not very well. But nowadays, these coaches are eating healthy. They're doing the work to keep that mental edge, and folks are living longer, doing well. So in the past, it might have seemed like, hey, at 65, you need to retire. Now, except for our president, these guys are doing pretty good. But it's a young man's game, I'll say, on the court, on the field. But coaching is, about attitudes. And the other thing is, these old coaches know how to count. As First Lady said, they know how to count. So they would some mistakes they just ain't gonna make. So I'm like, whoop whoop for you guys. One of y'all make it to the big dance. Go old dogs, whoop whoop. That's what I'm saying, First Lady.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes older coach versus a younger coach in the final championship game. I have to look at the brackets to see if that's going to happen. But I mean, it is clear, like you indicated, the young coaches are more adapting to the NIL. A lot of these older coaches, they got out the game because of NIL. And they were good at recruiting the old-fashioned way, but recruitment now is about you working with your donors to get some money for the NIL. Your benefactors. That's how it is now. It's a completely different game with the NIL. So I do agree with you on that part. But it's still about the floor of the game. And as I indicated, older coaches have more savvy, and they just they've been to the rodeo already, so they know what to do. So it's going to be interesting, but I wouldn't be surprised because, like I said, some of the younger coaches, they have extremely good teams this year, and as you indicated, it is about the talent. Coaching is part of it, but a lot of it is the talent that you have in order to win a championship. So anyway, we shall see what happens. We're going to the Elite Eight. We'll see how that transpired. And for some reason, them Houston Cougars, they just never seem to get a championship. I don't know what it is with Kelvin Sampson, but he's been there for a long time. It may be time for them to reconsider another coach. All right, Spitface, over to you.
All right, First Lady. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years, rocking my tears and putting suckers in tears, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the face go boom. Explosion over the power and over the competition. I'm towering. Wrecking shop when I drop these lyrics that'll make you call the cops. Don't you dare stare. You better move. Don't ever compare me to the rest that all get sliced and diced. Competition paying the price. I'm going to knock you out, huh? Mama said knock you out, huh? We are talking about the knockout punch to everyone in the way of Victor Wembanyama and his San Antonio Spurs. Led by the young star forward center Victor Wembanyama, the Spurs are among the best and hottest teams in the NBA. They own the highest winning percentage at .775 since January 1st at 31-9, including 23 victories in their past 25 games. At 55-18 overall, they are just 2 games behind the defending champion, Oklahoma City Thunder, for the top seed in the Western Conference, and the Spurs have beaten the Thunder in 4 of 5 matchups this season. San Antonio, a playoff team for the first time since 2019, ranks 3rd defensively, 4th offensively, and 2nd in net ratings. The Spurs are close to locking up the number 2 seed in the West and are not letting Oklahoma City ease its way to the number 1 seed. Do the Spurs have the knockout punch to win it all? Leroy Satchel Paige, Walker Buck Leonard, and James Cool Papa Bell are asking what you say. First Lady, I'm about to become a Wemby fan. I'm about to become a Wemby fan. I'm like, I'm thinking of Popovich, and unfortunately he had health issues, and it was just time. He had to take care of himself, and it's just like Wemby just fell in their laps, and I can imagine that if Pop was still there, they would probably have this exact same record. They would probably have this exact same, talk about old dogs. They probably, because, it's the players, and you get the right players in, and you got a coaching system that works, it's going to produce. And the Spurs as a team, that organization has been consistent. They, through the whether it's bad times or great times, that organization stays consistent. So over time, they're going to be right back up there. It's just surprising that they're where they are so soon, and it's Wemby. I mean, there have been plenty of tall players in the NBA who weren't worth a crap, or they had the height, but they weren't great players, or they were kind of semi-great. And Wemby, you know, Wemby putting it together for him. And I'm like, do you really want to face the Spurs in a 7-game series? You know, do you want to face the Spurs in a 3-game series? you know, that because they're gonna get you. They gonna get you. Now, I'm not knocking the Thunder, but it's hard for any team to repeat. Even the Thunder, there have been teams, in the NBA, teams have a tendency, if they win one, they might repeat, more so than the NFL or Major League Baseball or hockey. But it's a tough road. And if they finish up 1-2 with the Thunder on top, the Thunder got to worry about, hey, these boys have beat us 4 times out of 5. So they ain't scared of us. They're not scared of us at all. So we can have the number 1 seed, but if we had to play San Antonio, shoot, we could go down. I mean, it might be a tough series, but the Spurs ain't scared of it. So do they have the knockout punch to win it all? It's not just Wemby. He got sidekicks, and his sidekicks are balling out. So, First Lady, I think they got the knockout punch. I think they got that right hook, bam, that'll knock a whole bunch of teams out. So I'm going, the Spurs are the team that everybody got to watch out for. First Lady, what you say?
Well, I hope it is as Spurs as my Knicks. My Knicks have beaten them twice already out of 3 games. This to basically say to you, what you do in the regular season has no bearing what you do in the playoffs. It's a totally different game because guess what? When you're in the regular season, you're on the fly. Preparation is not always there all the time, because you play one game, you play back-to-back, depending on when you catch a team. So you really can't rely on the regular seasons. I can look at the New York Knicks last year. Detroit mopped them up the floor last year, but guess what? The Knicks won the series. So, again, it's about the playoffs, and the playoff is a different animal. So, basically what criteria you need to be a true title contender. I mean, number one, you got to have a top 5 superstar that can take over a playoff series. And Wemby can do that. You got to have reliable late game offenses when the defense. I really don't know if the Spurs can do that. And you got to have a proven second option. Now, yes, they have other players collectively, but I don't know if they got a number 2. You can say De'Aaron Fox might be the number 2, but he's been very up and down this year, to be honest with you. And you got to have an elite defense. So when I look at the Spurs, I would say they got about a couple of the criterion that you need to have in order to be a true title contender. Yes, you got the Wembanyama factor. He is major. He'll be the defensive player of the year, but he's not that consistent when you put pressure on him. He's been working on, the physicality. When you bump up against him, he's featherly thin. So, that's the reason why when you got the playoffs and things get tight, defensively, I think you might can contain Wembanyama because he is light and he can be pushed around. So, but he's working on that. He's working on building his strength. And I just don't think they're at the level of winning a championship. And you got to look at the West. You got too many teams out there. Like you said, OKC, they're young, but they've been there already. They pretty much have been unhealthy the whole season, and they still winning. I mean, D. Will hasn't been playing that much. He's just getting back into Jalen Williams. So he's just getting back into form, to be honest with you. You got Denver with Jokic. Anytime you got a Jokic-led team, that's going to be a tough hour. So, I don't know how real the Lakers are, They look good now, but we don't know until we get to the playoffs. Like I said, they can look good during the regular season, but they can get, they're not great in the playoffs. So I just don't think they have the experience. The only person that I believe that's been in the playoffs is Harrison Barnes. I think I can't remember if De'Aaron Fox went to the playoff with Sacramento. Right now, I know they were in the play-in. I don't remember them being in the playoffs with De'Aaron Fox. So they only have one person. No, they have. Basically one person that's playing that's been in the playoffs before. That's a lot. That's a lot. Things get a little bit difficult. That's why when they played the Knicks in the Emirates Cup they lost to them, and their youth really showed how Knicks experience took over that game. So that's what I'm talking about. When the prize get a little bit, when it gets to important things, people start to get tight. And that's when your nerves start to kick in, and that's where you rely on that experience. Unfortunately, the Spurs, they do not have that experience to rely on. So, they're almost there. I still think they need another major superstar, a major addition, because Wembanyama is definitely a superstar. He's on that trajectory to being a superstar. But they need a legit all-star guard wing. If De'Aaron Fox, he was an all-star, but he's kind of slipped the last couple of years. If he can be that person, then yes, I'll say that they can win it all. But right now, I'm not going to say that they can win it all. And Wemby, if he becomes a dominant closer, and that's another thing. You need a closer. You need to have a closer in the playoffs. You need to have somebody like Luka Doncic. You need to have somebody like on the Knicks. You got Jalen Brunson. That's a closer. These are people that can get you a bucket when you need a bucket. So is Wemby at that point that he can get you a bucket when you need a bucket? He's shown flashes, but I don't think he's consistently at that level right now. They're a rising team. They have brilliance, flashes of brilliance. They're going to be in contention for a long, long time. But it's not their year this year. I would see them next year. You got to lose before you can win. And I don't see them, OKC had the problem before. You remember they lost, I believe, to Denver the year before, and that's when they came back and won it all. So like I said, you got to lose first in order for you to be able to climb over that hill and climb up that hill. And right now, I don't see the Spurs at that level right now. We'll see, but no, I don't think they have enough to win it all at this point in time.
All right, per se, you said they don't have enough to win it all. But, boy, you don't want to play. Now, I wonder if that player up in Milwaukee might consider going to the Spurs. I heard he's been kind of getting shopped around, that certain player up in Milwaukee. Ooh, that would be ugly.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to the other Houston team. He's going to the other team in Texas. That's Houston. That's what they're looking for.
Well, remember, they got 3 in Texas, so you got to, the math. Yeah, I know you said you. Well, that could be ugly, too. But, okay. Well, First Lady, you have the last word. Please take us to break.
Stay tuned. Up next, we have a performance from Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers on Shout Out Part 1.
Go Spurs. Welcome back. The music flows in from around the globe to get a shout out from the panel. First Lady, I can't wait to hear the music from Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers.
On Shout Out, we feature new independent artists who are looking to find their shining star. If we like what we hear, we'll give the track a shout out. If we don't like it, we hit the mute. We are featuring music from Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers and their hit album, Steel Tears. They say he loves to sing, write, and enjoy great music. His music is a combination of the lyrics and the pace, the meter of the words, trying to relay a message that everyone can relate to or just enjoy the sound and the stories told. All right, DJ, let's hear Between You and Me.
I say I love you, you say you love me. Feels like a movie till the silence cuts the scene. Yeah, you hold me closer, I somewhere past me, I catch my reflection in the space where you should be. Between you and me and the whole world watching, are we what we seem, or just good at talking? You say you love me, I say it back on repeat, but what's the truth between you and me? Phone on the table, screen face down, buzzing. You laugh a little louder when you're ducking every question. Oh, we post our perfect smiles in the white glow, but I see the correct show when the cameras finally close. Oh, between you and me and the whole world watching, are we what we seem, or just good at talking? You say you love me, I say it back on repeat, but what's the truth between you and me? If the crowd went quiet, if the lights all fell, would we still feel this, or would we tell ourselves? Between you and me and the whole world watching, are we what we seem, or just good at talking? You say you love me, I say it back on repeat, but what's the truth? Tell me the truth between you and me.
Okay, Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers. I like that song. I'm definitely going to shout it out. I thought his voice was excellent. The song, the words, well produced. I'm shouting it out. Spitface, you going to hit the mute or you going to shout it out?
you shouted it out. I shouted it out too, First Lady. You know, it kind of took me. To me, it's an old school song. You know, even though it's a new song, it's an old school style. And it's been a while since we'd heard a brother who the brother could sing, and he ain't no young buck. You know, the brother kind of up there. I'm like, hey, you know, he's him and them the Sink City folks that they got something going on. I like it. So I'm giving it a shout out.
All right. So on part 2 of Shout Out, we'll be featuring another performance from Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers. Is that the sound of our favorite underwater friend? Is it time for Flip It?
No one you see is smarter than you. And we know missing a world full of wonders, lying there on the kind of
All right, it is time for Flip It, while hosts defend the view and then flip the script and defend the opposite view. The trades in the NFL have been interesting. There was a lot of stuff going on, but rumor has it that Tom Brady inquired about a return to the NFL, and it wasn't looked on favorably. We wondered, could Brady make a return and make a splash? So we defend. Tom Brady better keep his butt in the boot. First Lady, I have seen athletes who they retired after a couple of years. They said, I still got the itch. I still got something, you know, to go. And then they got out there and looked bad. And Tom Brady, I think he left right as the slippage was starting to slide in a way. And because when he left, he was still better than a lot of quarterbacks, and he could still be a starter. But that's been, 2-3 years now? I'm like Tommy, you know, I know that you're going, look, these guys, but look, Tom, you ain't a speed demon, you know, who can run away from a defender. And, you know, so, you know what? You're doing a good job in the booth. You got your hair done good. You know, you looking nice in the, you know, with the suit on and the tie. And you got a bunch of money already. Sit your butt in that booth and don't worry and be happy. First Lady, defend. He may have something in the tank, but not enough for a comeback.
This is interesting. Just because Tom Brady played some flag football, we are having this conversation. So the bottom line is Tom Brady, unfortunately, I mean, he just needs to keep his butt in the booth. I mean, let's face it. You know, age is not something that you play around with. Father time always wins. I don't care what anybody says, you know. I mean, LeBron James so far has defied father time. But let's face it, LeBron James is not what he used to be. But, you know, he's gotten smarter. He knows what to do with his age. But he is not at no age of Tom Brady, right? So, I mean, let's face it. And LeBron James was a man-child when he was young. So he's built to go for many, many years. Tom Brady, you know, it's just, I'm sorry, Father Time can't be defeated. And now the game has evolved. You know, the defenses are faster. They're just more complex coverages. I mean, we know Tom Brady is smart, but you got to be a mobile quarterback in today's offense. And you imagine Tom Brady trying to go against that Seattle defense. And we already know you had a young guy trying to do it, and he couldn't do it. So you imagine trying to put Tom Brady back there. So I'm just sorry. You know, it's just too much to me, for him to risk his legacy. Tom Brady is one of the biggest winners. He's 7-time Super Bowl champion, arguably the greatest quarterback ever. To me, if he returns and struggles, it's going to be a narrative. He's not going to be the GOAT anymore. I mean, he stayed too long. You don't want to have those type of narratives about you. Why do you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? I mean, you know, you are good with conditioning. So, you know, conditioning is everything with Tom Brady. I mean, TB12. But no, Tom, stay your behind in the booth. Stay in the booth. Stay in the booth.
Stay in the booth. Well, you know, this is Flip It, so we have to flip the script. If Phillip Rivers and Old Man Rodgers, why not Brady? You know, the coach looked around and said, you know what, we're depleted. We need a quarterback. And all the options they had, they said, we'll take the old guy that's coaching high school and hasn't played in a number of years. And we'd rather take him than try to work a deal out for one of these other quarterbacks. And to me, that says something about the quality of not the upper tier, but the lower tier, that you would not even try to do something to get one of them. And then here's Pittsburgh, and I'm going, Old Man Tom Brady looked better than Old Man Rodgers. You know, you know, now that, you know, Rodgers has played a few more years since Brady has gone, but I'm going, if the Pittsburgh Steelers can say, hey, look, we can go with Old Man Rodgers, who's no longer mobile and is limited in many ways, darn near a statue back there, but we think that we can win with him. Why not Brady? Shoot. Brady, let him get a shot. You know, there's a team out there that having Brady could be the difference in them making the playoffs, and because they have everything around them, and he could be a bridge until they could get the quarterback they want for the future. So why not Brady? First lady defense. Brady looked pretty good in flag football game. He might still outplay half the starters in the NFL.
Yeah, he looked good. You know, he looked really good. The thing is, you know, Brady is a type of player that he has a lot of savvy. He's intelligent. He's, you know, he is just a very intelligent quarterback. And with having all of his intelligence, I think he can still play now. Like you said, Old Man River was able to play. And I still think Brady has a better arm. You know, Brady is always in great conditioning, too. I mean, that's one thing about Brady. He's always had a great arm. He gets rid of the ball quickly. So I know there's an issue of, you know, these defenses are better when they attack the quarterback. But Brady is a type of quarterback that, you know, he rarely gets tackled that much. Even though he's slow, he doesn't move around, but he still is able to release the ball quickly. And, you know, he can bring instant leadership to a team. You know, change the locker room overnight. And, you know, he can raise people's accountability. You know, one thing about Brady, he brings that championship mentality. He can mentor young players. You know, that makes a big difference. I mean, to me, He did it for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's why they were able to win a championship with Brady, because he brought that instant cachet to a team. And that's what you need. So, on a short-term basis, I think depending on the team got to have certain things in place. They got to have a strong O-line, and they got to have a strong defense, because we know Brady knows how to manage games. He's very great in clutch situation. He can elevate skill players. He can make any wide receiver look really, really good. And I think that's what he brings. And, hey, if he comes back, don't you think that would be big news in the NFL? I mean, the NFL ratings are already great, but my God, if Brady comes back, man, you talk about the ratings for the NFL would be really, really great. So I have no problem. I think it's a win-win situation for Tom Brady. I think he can do it for 1 or 2 years. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think Brady would be better than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the Steelers, that's who you need to try to see if you can get Brady back. But, of course, if Brady comes back, he would have to give up his ownership to the Raiders. Maybe he can be a playing owner at the 10. I mean, usually they used to have player coaches in the NBA. I wonder if he can be a owner that plays for the same team. So that might be something he may consider, because they darn sure need a quarterback, the Raiders do, and let Brady come back and let Mendoza sit behind Brady and learn from the best. That's a win-win situation for the Raiders. So, yeah, I have no problem with him coming back. Definitely worth it.
All right. You just say he can bring that experience, and you say he could play better than Aaron Rodgers. He probably can. And have a better attitude. Okay, I just think he don't want to go to the old cold team. All right, First Lady, over to you for more Flip It.
The NBA has a rule that upsets everyone, the 65-game rule for awards like MVP. We wonder if they need to change this rule. Should you be out of the running if you only played 64 games? Really? Come on, NBA. Spit face, defend. No matter what the rule is, somebody will be upset, and the Players Association agreed. There has to be a cutoff. Defend.
First Lady, if they change the rule to 60, there'd be some outstanding player who only played 59 games. They only played 59 games. So, a rule is a rule is a rule. And to make things fair, you got to set a cutoff, and you have to be rigid about it. You have to, otherwise it just waters everything down. And if LeBron in his heyday played for half the season and he was outstanding, should he be the MVP? He might have been having an MVP season, but if he only played half the season, and someone else had to play the whole season, where's the fairness to that? There's got to be a cutoff. And the Players Association, when they agreed to the rule, the Players Association, it happens to be made up of players, so they didn't have a problem with it at the time. So I don't see why everybody all upset now. So look, regardless of the sports, there's got to be a cutoff, and it may be unfortunate that somebody was stellar and they only played 64 games. Hey, it happens that way, in sports where injury, something happens where you can't make, and you got to live with that. That's part of the game. So stop crying. There's got to be a cutoff, and it's not like they made the cutoff 70 games, but they're saying, hey, you got to play the vast majority of the games. I think that's fair enough. That's what I'm saying, First Lady.
All right. Yeah. I mean, hey, the rule is what the rule. But like you said, the major thing is the NBA Players Association. They agreed to this rule change. They agreed to it. If they had a problem with it, they shouldn't have agreed to it. The problem is this year you got somebody like Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham, I believe he's only played like 61 games. I believe he's close to playing 65. But, of course, now because he's out with a collapsed lung, he was in contention for the most valuable player. And, you know, it's not just most valuable player. It's also all the all NBA teams that really equates to money, because when you are an NBA, all NBA team, that means you can get a super max deal. And this is what they're complaining about because of Cade Cunningham. That's why it's becoming a major, major issue. But hey, the rule is the rule, and you have to protect the integrity of the rule. I mean, you agreed to it. So, I mean, people are asking for them to make an exception for Cade Cunningham. No, you cannot make an exception for him because the rule says 65 games you have to play. So you got to play 65 games, and that's the way it is. Now, you know, I just think right now they need to have a cutoff because you got to protect the integrity of the awards. It's the players and it's the teams that they're the ones that put people in this position because of load management. That was the whole big thing regarding the 65-game rule because the commissioner, Adam Silver, got tired of teams not playing players when they were healthy. Load management. You know, I know recently on First Take, Stephen A. Smith gave a statistics, and I don't have the exact stats, but I do remember what he kind of said. He said a decade ago, I think it was 90% of the All-Stars played over 70 or 80% of the games a decade ago. But when they made this rule, only 59% of the All-Star games were playing 70 or 80% of the game. So that's a significant drop. And that's the reason why they wanted to change this rule, and particularly Adam Silver, because players were not playing. And we all know who started this load management. You know, he's no longer a coach, and that's Greg Popovich. You know, he's struggling. He has 2 massive strokes, and he's struggling right now. But he's the one that implemented this load management. And I'll never forget when he was there was a national televised game that was a big game. I believe it was the Spurs versus the Miami Heat, and he sent his top 3 players home on a commercial flight to not play. And that's really what irked Adam Silver. That was a major, major issue for Adam Silver, and it's just been a problem year after year since then. And that's the reason why they implemented this rule. And no, the NBA should not change this rule. The rule is good. It's for the integrity of the awards. It's league's business. And it's just, you know, it's a standard. It's a standard that they need to live up to because back in the day, players played. I mean, I'm not saying players need to play, you know, when they're really, really hurt. But come on now. Some of these players, they like to take their breaks. So anyway, it is what it is. That is the rule, and they darn sure should not change it because one player is not at that particular stage. Now, the rule is the rule. All right, so we're going to flip this. Fifthly, defend. No matter what the rule is, let's flip it. The NBA should lower the number of games required. The fans and the players know who is the best or the most valuable. Spitface defend. NBA needs to lower the criteria to qualify for awards to something that makes sense.
First Lady, I'm looking at the situation, and I do think that they should lower the number of games. but they don't have to lower the number of the games to like 50, you know. But maybe lowering the threshold to 60 games. But the 65 might just be a little too rigid. And, the thing about, everybody has their opinion, I'll say, who the MVP is and who's the best at this position or that position. And a lot of that in the public arena is not a matter of how many games got played. Now, you do need to set a requirement so that it's fair, but the fans and the players know who the best is. And if a team goes to the playoffs and they do good, and their star player was kept from getting an MVP because they only played in 64 games, but they're in the playoffs and doing well, it kind of like it makes things look mushy. So they need to go ahead and 65 may be too rigid, and just make an adjustment. Now, I can get that there may be other ways to have the teams not do the load management, because one, it does hurt. I say it hurts the NBA because people buy tickets because they're going, okay, my team might be crap, but I want the opportunity to see a Wemby, the opportunity to see a Gillis. I want the opportunity to see these, star players. So when teams play and they go, okay, I'm going to sit these guys down, to me that's like, give me my ticket money back. It's different if they really hurt. And like you said, some of these guys, they have a broken fingernail and they get to sit 2 games. Calm out. So, but they should lower the threshold so that the awards have integrity, but it makes sense. That's what I'm saying, First Lady.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we know it was about load management. Unfortunately, though, this particular rule punishes people that have legitimate injuries, like Cade Cunningham. I mean, Cade Cunningham has definitely been in contention for the MVP, and now because he was injured basically with less than 2 weeks left in the season. He's played majority of the games. He's just not quite at that 65. So yeah, I mean, 65 number was an arbitrary number. So why not make it 60? If you played currently, if you played 65, you're playing in 79% participation. So why not do 60? 60 is 73%. 58 is 70%. So I mean, if you look at some of the MVP seasons that came before, some of them have fewer than 65 games. So, I mean, I can see where they can have a little wiggle room to make it a little bit lower than what it is. It's a conflict with 65 games in the current modern player management. Teams are prioritizing playoff health over regular season volume. There's always this thing about, should they lower the entire season? 82 games is too many games for the NBA. That's another thing that they've talked about. So, they don't want to do it because when you lower the NBA season, that means less money, and that's not what they want to do. So that's a problem. So but medical staff on these teams, they're becoming more cautious of their players, especially the players that are their superstar players, because of the fact that there's so many injuries. Now, you can look at it 2 ways, though. All these injuries, all these LCL tears and all this, I might want to say that it's because of load management, but they say because they're playing too long, so too many games. So that's what they're saying. But like you said, there's when you have the integrity of the game and the integrity of the awards, really, because you don't have your best players actually in competition for those awards, because if they have less than 65, I mean, to me, if a player plays 60 games, you could say that that's the MVP. I mean, we're talking about what? 81 games. So that's 21 games they didn't play. I mean, well, I don't know if that's going to make a big difference when you know you have a clear MVP. So 60 versus 65, I mean, they can lower it. But as we already said before, there's always going to be an issue. But let's just lower it. Let's make everybody happy. You got to make tweaks to it. But ultimately, they need to change the number of games they played for the entire season. That's what needs to be done regarding this whole situation. All right, Fitface, over to you.
Okay, on the other side of the break, we have another performance from Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers. On Shout Out Part 2, please keep your ears glued to those speakers.
Welcome back. The music flows from around the globe to get a shout out from the crew. Spitface, over to you.
Okay. On the second part of Shout Out, we are featuring another track from Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers. Let's hear the title track, Still Tears. DJ, let's roll it.
She quiet but strong, warrior walking alone, shiny sword of steel, heart heavy as stone. Tears from past battles, got scars she don't show. A storm in her chest, but she moves steady, slow. Never seen her cry, but she grieves in the dark. Every step on that pavement, another crack in her heart. Those tears at her feet disappear in the ground, like they taking her pain, so she don't make a sound. Still tears fall when nobody sees. She breaks, but she bleeds just like others do. Still tears hit the dirt, hit the street. She stands, she believes, but she human too. Still tears. She's strong in belief, know how to survive. Read every wrong turn, chose to stay alive. Life on the streets tried to swallow her whole. She learned how to bend, but she guarding her soul. She smiles sometimes when the pressure feel like cracks open and laugh just to breathe for the night. Her eyes, they so bright, cut a path through the scars. When she look up in silence, they shining at the stars. Still tears fall when nobody sees. She breaks, but she bleeds just like others do. Still tears hit the dirt, hit the street. She stands, she believes, but she human too. Still tears. Still tears.
All right, that was Still Tears. And a little bit short, but I liked it. I'm giving it a shout out. First Lady, what's the verdict?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna shout it out too. Love her voice. Love the music, the song. It was a little bit short, but I mean, it was okay to be short. You know, yeah, you know, she has that. It was I can't think of her style. Her voice. It reminded me of another performer, but it'll come to me later on. But somebody famous, her singing style. But I enjoyed the song. Definitely shouting it out.
Yeah, she sounded a little bit like, is it Macy Gray? Or
no, Macy Gray has a rough voice. It's a person who does jazz and R&B neo soul songs. I can't think of her name right now, but it'll come to me offline.
It sounds like she got a little Erica, a little something. But I had to give it to her. That was a well produced track. Really, really well. I liked it. It was well. Well, that is the end of Shout Out. You can check out Tommy Wordsmith and the Sink City Singers on the Old Grumpy Radio Network. If you would like to be heard or have any comments, please send your emails and tracks to talent@oldgrumpyradio.com. First Lady, over to you.
All right, coming at the start of the NBA playoffs, we will start doing our NBA hardwood picks, but that's coming soon. All right, Spitface, what is your top story to watch this week?
The men and women NCAA basketball championships, because it's coming down to the wire. Who will take home the big turkey?
All right. Well, my top story to watch, we're talking about it's the opening week of the Major League Baseball season. You know, everybody opened up on, we had the Yankees played Wednesday night on Netflix. You know, Netflix is taking over for the baseball, which is interesting. And then everybody else opened up on Thursday, except for Florida Marlins. Do you know the Florida Marlins requested to open their season on Friday versus Thursday because most people played in the afternoon, and the Marlins didn't think that they could get enough crowds to come on Thursday afternoon, so they felt it would be much better to open up on Friday. So anyway, kudos to the Marlins. I mean, they know the situation in Florida, so they decided that, not too many people feeling the Marlins because they're always breaking down the team instead of trying to build a team. They have actually good young players in the farm league. They bring them up. Then when they want money, they get rid of them. But anyway, that's the way the Marlins been. And this is a champ. Do you believe they won 2 championships back in the day? 2 championships, the Marlins. But anyway, kudos to Major League Baseball, and they have a lot of changes now, too, because, they got that automatic strike zone thing they implemented. So it's going to be an interesting season for the Major League Baseball. All right, check out our current and previous episodes at BrasPantiesAndSports.com. This is Cheryl Smith, the First Lady of Sports Talk, and Spitface. You have been listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. See you next week.